A warm welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, August 21. Government's plan to take down the Lord Nelson statue to mark the end of the season of emancipation is off, at least for the time being. In a statement this evening, Minister in the Prime Minister's office with responsibility for culture, John King, explained that limited resources had to be diverted as a result of unforeseen circumstances. As a result, he announced that the long-delayed Rock Hall Freedom Park in St. Thomas will instead be officially opened on Sunday afternoon to mark the end of the season. The Rock Hall Freedom Village project involved the refurbishing of the 20-foot bronze monument and the upgrading of a number of chattel-type shops built by a previous Barbados Labour Party government, but which were never opened. He noted that with so many families struggling to keep their heads above water because of the challenges brought on by COVID-19, government feels it is critically important to create new opportunities for ordinary Barbadians by getting those shops that have been languishing for so long back in shape. Minister King, however, assured that once all critical matters in relation to Rock Hall are completed, then government will turn its attention to the removal of Nelson from Heroes Square. Meanwhile, the General Secretary of the Caribbean Movement for Peace and Integration, David Denny, expressed disappointment at the government's decision to delay the movement of the Lord Nelson statue. He told Barbados Today the group will stage a protest tomorrow where it will address the matter.
We were hoping that the government would have stuck to its original position to remove Lord Nelson during the season of emancipation, but as you know, this will not happen. And we were also hoping that if the government could not move Lord Nelson during the season of emancipation, I think the honorable thing would have been to give the people of Barbados a time frame in relation to the removal of Lord Nelson. Our movement will go to Lord Nelson tomorrow, Saturday, the 22nd of August 2020 at 11 a.m. to do a protest against what is happening, and we will speak to that agenda, and we will try our best to encourage the government of Barbados to work towards the removal of Lord Nelson.
With employment said to be hovering around 40% and very little commerce taking place, the Opposition People's Party for Democracy and Development is warning of a looming crisis of poverty and other social disarray, unless the Mia Mottley administration acts now. The PDP is proposing that government undertake several measures, including offering unemployed individuals free bus rides, extending the National Insurance Scheme benefits, and providing basic food items for unemployed households. During a media conference on Friday, Senator Crystal Drake stressed the government must adjust its revenue.
You cannot have a situation in Barbados where government is trying to achieve a macroeconomic indicator and you have the fallout of persons not being able to afford food, families not being able to afford food. As I said, it can also work with local farmers through the Ministry of Agriculture so that that food is subsidized in such a way that you kind of inject funds into the local agricultural sector, work with the Ministry of Social Care, merge those two ministries, and ensure that there's some kind of feed our families program so that persons can at least have a starch, they have their vegetables, and a protein at bare minimum. Because this is the type of season that we're moving into. I mean, as much as we would want to think that, yes, we have incoming flights in October, I believe it is. There's the resumption of service on some of the airlines coming into Barbados. But the magnitude or the capacity will be nowhere near what it was previously. So we have to find a way for persons to survive. We have to go into survival mode. Anything else comes after.
Scott Weatherhead also warned of grim days ahead, and he called for government to ease the burden for hard-hit Barbadians.
You have to keep those who are unemployed, you have to give them some level of income longer than the 6 months, because we're not getting out of this in 6 months. But more than that, we also have to consider those who were self-employed persons who didn't have an AS benefit at all. Or those who never signed into the scheme. And there are many people who never signed into the scheme to start with for whatever reason. Or their employer didn't, for whatever reason, they were contract workers. However, it worked out. There are many people who are not benefiting from unemployment benefit and are out of work. And so you have to look after them. Not only have you to look after them, but you have to look after those who perhaps were unemployed before this started, who now are in a worse situation. You have to give them food. You have to make sure their utilities are being paid. You have to make sure they're getting access to food, which is why we talked about a food bank. Government could take some of its foreign exchange, the $2 billion it has sitting down, and order some food. Bring it in duty-free, of course, it's government food, so it's not, they can order it themselves. Stockpile it and allow those of the least fortunate people access to that food every week, a certain value per person, per household, or some such thing. I'm not going to get into the details of exactly how it would work, but the essence of it is that you need people, if either you're going to give them money or you're going to give them food and pay their utility bills.
Home Affairs Minister Wilfred Abrams has pledged to tackle lingering issues of promotion and staffing, among other matters, in the Barbados Fire Service today. He gave the commitment as he toured the Arch Hall Fire Station with Permanent Secretary in his ministry Deborah Payne and Director of Public Affairs Pat Paris. Abrams, who was impressed by the operations at Arch Hall, also pledged to ensure that the fire service becomes #1 in the Caribbean.
We know the challenges the government is facing with respect to resources. So you're probably not going to get everything that you want. But equally, we have to try to work with you to give the things that we can give to allow you to function as best you can. Let us work together. Let us be straight with each other. Let's be honest with each other. I will do my best to try to put you in a position to be the premier fire service, not just in Barbados, but to be the premier fire service in the Caribbean, to allow you to expand your ambit to deliver all the services that should be associated with the fire service. So not just fire, but ambulance, rescue, all the other things that naturally should flow from what it is that we have. We have to maximize what it is that we do have. You have an excellent facility, you have excellent trainers, you have excellent staff. Let us see how we can best utilize what we have to get the maximum result for the fire service.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now, Guyana's Vice President Barbados Jagdeo says every citizen must benefit directly or indirectly from the country's oil wealth. We get the details from Newsroom Guyana.
Vice President Barbados Jagdeo said a draft local content legislation will be laid in the National Assembly before the end of the year. The legislation seeks to ensure that Guyanese are involved in and are trained to take over the offshore oil and gas industry, from direct employment to subcontractors.
We are moving swiftly. We're hoping before the end of the year that we have draft legislation that we can put before the Parliament to deal with local content and driving more business and jobs for our people. The whole philosophy is that we want the oil companies to prosper, but Guyanese have to share that prosperity. If we don't, then we might as well shut down the sector. If we don't share the prosperity, and we're going to ensure that that happens.
Mr. Jagdeo was speaking during an interview on Kaito Radio on Thursday evening. The Vice President said U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil was told that the legislation will be passed, forcing them and future operators to address pressing issues for the business community and ordinary citizens. The Vice President pointed out that too many contracts are being given to foreign contractors and Guyanese are at a disadvantage due to the unfair playing field.
On the international scene, U.S. Postmaster Louis DeJoy on Friday told lawmakers the Postal Service will deliver ballots securely and on time in the November presidential election, but he indicated he would pursue dramatic operational changes after the date. DeJoy faced pointed questions at a Senate hearing from Democrats who have accused a wealthy Republican donor of trying to tilt the election to President Donald Trump.
The Postal Service is fully capable and committed to delivering the nation's election mail securely and on time. This sacred duty is my #1 priority between now and Election Day.
U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy on Friday tried to alleviate Democratic concerns by promising his cost-cutting measures, which were suspended just days ago, would not contribute to delays in election ballot delivery. In testimony before a Republican-led Senate committee, DeJoy told lawmakers that the U.S. Postal Service will continue to prioritize the delivery of ballots. Senator Gary Peters.
And will you continue the processes and procedures to allow election mail to move as expeditiously as possible and treat it like first class?
Yes, sir. We will deploy processes and procedures that advance any election mail, in some cases ahead of first-class mail.
Critics have voiced concern that service delays could result in millions of uncounted ballots in the November 3rd election and help Republican President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly condemned voting by mail.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.